In the top stories, the Guyanese community in St. Kitts held a candlelight vigil over the weekend to honor the victims of the MV Barima ferry tragedy. Regionally, 3 men have been charged with 72 counts of murder over the deadly MV Barima ferry disaster. And on the international scene, Keiko Fujimori has been sworn in as Peru's president. Hello and welcome to the ZIZ Midday Major Newscast. I am Jasmine Thomas. First on the local scene, the Guyanese community in St. Kitts gathered on Sunday evening to honor the more than 70 people who lost their lives in the MV Barima ferry tragedy in Guyana earlier this month. The candlelight vigil brought together members of the Guyanese community, government officials, and residents from across the Federation in a show of solidarity with the families of the victims and the people of Guyana. ZIZ's Kent Fuentes attended and filed this report.
The candlelight vigil drew people from across the Federation who stood in solidarity with the families of the victims and the people of Guyana. Among those in attendance were Governor General D. Marcella Liebert and Prime Minister Dr. Terence Drew. Addressing the gathering, Prime Minister Drew said there are moments when words alone cannot ease the pain of such a profound loss.
There are moments when words feel inadequate. There are moments when grief is simply too deep, the loss too sudden, and the questions too painful for any speech to provide comfort. This is one of those moments. Tonight, we remember the precious lives lost in the MV Barima tragedy that took place in your great country just about a week ago. We hold close in our thoughts those who remain unaccounted for. We pray for the survivors who endured fear and trauma that few of us can't even begin to imagine.
The Prime Minister said the people of St. Kitts and Nevis stand in solidarity with the people of Guyana as they grieve and begin the long process of healing.
On behalf of the government and people of St. Kitts and Nevis, I extend our deepest condolences to the government and people of Guyana, and most especially to every family and community touched directly by this tragedy. I also want to speak directly to you, the Guyanese community here in our Federation, to let you know that you are part of us. Therefore, when you mourn, when Guyana mourns, homes across St. Kitts and Nevis also mourn.
President of the Guyanese Association, Donette Mars, offered her deepest condolences to the families of the victims, while encouraging the Guyanese community to remain united during this time of mourning.
As members of the St. Kitts Guyanese Association, we stand with our brothers and sisters in Guyana during this difficult time. We share in their grief, and we pray for strength, comfort, and hope for every family. Tonight, as we light these candles, let them remind us that even in the darkest moments, love, faith, and unity can still shine.
Honorary Consul of Guyana to St. Kitts and Nevis, Denise Arlene, said the tragedy had reinforced the importance of a strong Guyanese community in the Federation, providing support and comfort to those far from home.
Occasions like these highlight the importance of having a Guyanese association, because we can come together to support and assist one another here, as well as assist friends and family at home in times of tragedy. I know that we are all heartbroken by the terrible events. I know many of you, like me, have been following, even though every time you read an article, you say you're not going to read anymore. It is just so sad.
Kent Fuentes, ZIZ News.
Thank you, Kent. Premier Mark Brantley says the Nevis geothermal project has reached a significant milestone with mobilization of the drilling rig expected shortly. During a press briefing on Tuesday, Brantley said the issues that had temporarily delayed the project have been resolved and the work is once again moving forward. He said the rig was originally expected to be mobilized in August and only a small change to that timeline is now expected. Brantley also pointed to the importance of the partnership between the Nevis Island administration and the federal government. He credited the support of Prime Minister Dr. Terence Drew's administration with helping Nevis secure the financing needed to move the project ahead. The Nevis Geothermal Project is one of the largest renewable energy projects ever undertaken in the Federation. About $51.6 million is being provided through the Green Climate Fund, the Caribbean Development Bank, and the Inter-American Development Bank. A further $20 million is coming from the Saudi Fund for Development. The first phase is expected to support the development of a 30-megawatt geothermal power plant that will supply affordable electricity to both St. Kitts and Nevis. And the National Assembly is scheduled to consider 5 pieces of legislation when it meets on Thursday, 30th July. 3 of the measures will receive their first reading. They are the Banking Amendment Number 2 Bill, the Payment Systems and Services Bill, and the Liquor License Amendment Bill, all of 2026. Prime Minister Dr. Terence Drew will seek leave to introduce those 3 bills. He will also move the second reading of the Banking Amendment Number 2 Bill. Attorney General Garth Wilkin, meanwhile, will move the second reading of the Extradition Amendment Bill 2026. This sitting will be held at the National Assembly Chambers in Bastille and will be carried live on ZIZ Radio, participating radio stations, television, and online platforms. On the regional scene, the captain of the MV Barima and 2 other men have appeared in court on 72 counts of murder in connection with the July 18 ferry disaster. At least 73 people died when the vessel sank, while more than 30 others remain missing and are feared dead. Police charged 40-year-old Captain Kevin Price, 42-year-old Chief Mate Rondell Roberts, and 33-year-old Dillon Granderson, a loading superintendent at the Transport and Harbors Department. The 3 men appeared before Chief Magistrate Judy Latchman at the Georgetown Magistrates Court on Tuesday. They were not required to enter pleas and were remanded to prison until the 3rd of August. Price broke down in tears during the hearing, saying he did not understand why he was facing murder charges. He claimed that problems with the 87-year-old ferry had been known since 2022, including the absence of radar and the search and rescue transponder. Rescue and recovery operations have continued since the MV Barima sank in one of Guyana's deadliest maritime disasters in recent history. Former Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley is calling on the government of Trinidad and Tobago to immediately end the country's state of emergency. On Tuesday, Rowley accused the government of abusing state power and using the emergency measures to settle personal and political scores. He also rejected Prime Minister Kamla Persad-Bissessa's claim that critics of her administration's anti-crime campaign were attempting to inflame racial tensions. Rowley said the government's position had been weakened by a legal setback at the Privy Council involving the detention of businessman Dominic Hadid and his wife Genevieve. The couple was held for nearly a month over allegations of involvement in a plot to assassinate the Prime Minister and senior members of her government. Rowley questioned why no charges had been filed, despite claims that the investigation had expanded to include foreign intelligence agencies, financial institutions, and businesses. Persad-Bissessa has defended the government's approach, saying criminal interests were spreading false narratives and attacking the country's protective services. She also vowed that her administration would continue working to dismantle the country's local drug mafia. The state of emergency is scheduled to expire in September. And now for a look at news on the international scene. Conservative leader Keiko Fujimori was sworn in as Peru's president on Tuesday after winning the June runoff election by fewer than 50,000 votes. Fujimori, a four-time presidential candidate and leader of Peru's largest political party, becomes the country's ninth president in a decade. More in this report.
Keiko Fujimori is Peru's new president. She'll inherit a country which has cycled through 9 presidents in a decade. Years of political instability, corruption scandals, and institutional crisis has led to one of the country's most unusual legacies. 4 former presidents are currently in Barbadillo prison in Lima. Keiko Fujimori's father, Alberto, who was also president, was Barbadillo's first resident in 2007. Ex-presidents Alejandro Toledo, Ollanta Humala, Martín Vizcarra and Pedro Castillo call Barbadillo home. The prison is one symbol of political corruption and instability. After Castillo's imprisonment, violent protests broke out, with more than 50 people killed in clashes with police. Fujimori's mandate will not be easy. She inherits a country with rising crime and extortion, something she says that she will deal with.
And soldiers and emergency workers are searching through collapsed homes and a badly damaged shopping center for survivors after a powerful earthquake killed at least 18 people in southwest Japan. The magnitude 7.1 earthquake struck the Kumamoto area on the island of Kyushu on Tuesday. At least 62 people were injured, including 6 who remain in serious condition. Authorities say the death toll has continued to rise, raising concerns that more victims could be found. Some of the worst damage was reported in the Aeon Mall in Kashima City, which was crowded with thousands of people when the earthquake struck. The company said about 3,000 customers were evacuated to a parking area before a gas explosion occurred in another section of the building where some people were still working. 4 deaths have been confirmed at the site, while 3 people remain missing. Witnesses said the explosion shook the area with a force similar to the earthquake. Rescue operations are continuing in sweltering conditions, heightened concerns for anyone who may be still trapped. We now take a look at the weather. High pressure will maintain dry, hazy, and stable conditions across the area during the next 24 hours. Today will be partly cloudy and hazy with a 20% or slight chance of showers. Tonight will remain partly cloudy and hazy with a 20% or slight chance of showers. Temperatures will reach a high of 33 degrees Celsius or 91 degrees Fahrenheit with an overnight low of 26 degrees Celsius or 79 degrees Fahrenheit. Winds will be from the east at 20 to 37 kilometers per hour or 13 to 23 miles per hour with gusts of up to 54 kilometers per hour or 33 miles per hour, mainly over open waters and elevated areas. Seas will range from 0.9 to 1.8 meters or 3 to 6 feet. Small craft operators should exercise caution. Sunset today, 6:45 this evening, and sunrise tomorrow will be at about 10 minutes before 6 in the morning. That brings us to the end of the Midday Major Newscast. Join us this evening for these stories and more. Thank you for tuning in. I am Jasmine Thomas. God bless you.